Humans are creative beings. If we don't create, we don't express ourselves creatively, we get a little crazy. It's really part of who we are, who we're meant to be. It's a really important part of being human is creating. But you don't have to be a writer. I just want to remind you of that. You don't have to. If it's torture for you or you're not sure it's the right thing, you don't have to write. So I'm going to tell you a story. I had a friend who took my introductory fiction course. This is years ago, about 20 years ago. I was living in Chicago and I was doing my workshops face to face in my apartment in Chicago. Now I've brought them online, but then I was doing them face to face. And he took my class. He'd been a friend for quite a while. We met when we were both waiters he was actually the manager and I was a waiter at a pretty nice restaurant in Chicago. And he wanted to be a writer forever. I guess we were in our 30s. And he'd wanted to be a writer for as long as he could remember. He wanted to be a writer, but he wasn't doing it. He wasn't writing. And so, like there is for a lot of folks, there was a lot of guilt and shame around not doing it. You know, what was wrong with him? He wasn't a writer. And he had a partner, a life partner, and he blamed his partner for the fact that he wasn't getting writing done. It's like, how is your partner? What is going on? There's a lot of art crazy. You notice that? There's a lot of guilt and shame around all of the creative endeavors. So anyway, he took my class and he loved it. And my beginning class teaches the elements of fiction. You're not writing a complete piece, but we play. We write. I teach a little bit and then we do prompts. We write together about setting, about the use of time, summary versus scene, how you handle time, how you develop characters, dialogue, direct versus indirect dialogue. And so the pieces of fiction, and you kind of get a sense and you play and you start getting ideas. And sometimes people take it and they're like, wow, this is really interesting, but I didn't realize it was so much work. And then they decide they disappear. And about half the people stay, and he stayed, and he took the next level is an ongoing workshop that's 8 weeks at a time, where you start creating a piece, and you bring in little bits of it. He was so excited, and then we talk about the bits that you're bringing in. He was so excited. He was writing and he was bringing it in, and he would stand up to read. And my sister, who was also friends with him, found out that he was sharing his pieces with friends. Like after dinner, he would read something, and she said to me in confidence, "It's not really very good." I'm like, well, he's just starting. And you know what? It doesn't matter if he's any good. He's discovering his voice. He's excited. He's sharing. It's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's a reason to write. Well, after about, I guess he re-upped for the night. He did 8 weeks and he did another 8 weeks. And at some point he said, I realized after all these years, I realized I'm not really a writer. So after all this guilt and shame and being angry with his partner for somehow preventing him from writing, he realized once he jumped in, it's not really what he wanted to do. And he went to cooking school. And he is now a wonderful chef in Chicago. He had his own catering business for a while. But he wasn't a very good businessman, so he stopped doing that. But he has a job. He's a chef, and he's awesome. I mean, we used to have picnics at his house in Chicago in his yard, and all of his friends would come and we'd all bring food. But then when he became a chef, no, he cooked. Then he cooked. It was no longer potluck. He cooked everything, and it was really wonderful. So my point in telling you this, it was really important that he express his creativity, because it made him kind of miserable that he wasn't, and contentious with his partner. It was crazy. And so in doing something, jumping in this case, it was the writing that he thought he wanted to do, it opened up his creative self and opened up possibilities. And then he was able to find what he really wanted to do. It's just amazing. So I'm sharing that story with you just to remind you, you don't have to write. And if it's causing you a lot of grief, maybe it's because you really want to do something else. But maybe jump in and take a writing class and see if it's what you want to do. Open up your heart to possibilities. And what's important is that you're sharing your light. that you're sharing your creative self in whatever form you choose to share it. So that's my message for today. I'm Pam Sorellis, and my company is Winged Horse Writing Studio. I'm a writing coach, and I teach workshops as well in fiction and memoir, and I'm a developmental editor. So if you have a draft of something, I look at it and give you feedback. So I help writers find their voices and express themselves in beautiful and powerful ways, and also perhaps to discover that this isn't really what you want to do. And that's fine too. Take care.